Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of What Do You Need to Know to Live in Costa Rica? Today, owning a rental property. Hey everyone, my name is Patrick Jager, joined as always by my good friend and business partner, Aaron Bailey. Hi, Aaron.
Hello, Patrick.
Welcome to another episode of What You Need to Know to Live in Costa Rica. And Aaron, today's topic is one that is near and dear to your heart, as you of the two of us do have rental property, all about owning rental property in Costa Rica.
Yes, owning an Airbnb property, primarily an Airbnb property, although rent on some other platforms, but Airbnb is the biggest. So this is short-term rentals in Costa Rica. My experience, having bought a place now 2.5 years ago and renting it out.
Okay, before I get too deep into this, I want to remind everyone that if you like this video, please hit the like button. As always, please subscribe. We'd love to have you be part of our community. Okay, that out of the way. Aaron, this is your topic. I'm going to do the asking. You're going to do the answering. Let's start off with why did you buy a property, and did you buy it to be a rental?
Well, let's also say that this is solely my opinion. My experience, there are going to be a gamut of experiences in Costa Rica. So, feel free to comment saying you have a different experience, but this is solely my opinion and my experience. So my best friend and I were randomly driving around Costa Rica and fell in love with a very remote beach, a very quiet beach, saw a for sale sign and left the country 3 days later having purchased that property impulsively, a little crazy. We had planned on using it quite a bit, 3 to 4 months a year, individually and together, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, about 300 meters from the beach. I have obviously then I moved down to Costa Rica full time, and I use it occasionally when it's not on Airbnb. My good friend does not use it as much as he would like. So it's kind of been a mix. Like initially started off as wanting to Airbnb it less, but we've actually ended up Airbnb-ing it more.
So just so everybody knows, where is your Airbnb property? Obviously, if you've been watching these videos, you already know. But for those that don't,
You already
where
know.
is it?
Our loyal fan club already knows. But it is in Playa Bejuco. There are a bunch of Playa Bejucos in Costa Rica. Mine is in Punta Arenas, halfway between Jaco and Quepos, on a very beautiful stretch of beach right next to Esterios. And so it's about 2 hours west of San Jose, depending on with no traffic, and absolutely love it.
Yeah, it is absolutely beautiful. Okay, so it's a rental property. Lots of questions people are going to have. Let's start with, are you managing it or do you have a property manager?
I had a property manager. When I moved down to Costa Rica full time, I decided to take on most of that. So I do all of the communications with people, and if any problems come up, I'm the first line of communications with them. However, I do have someone on site who manages the emergencies, the problems, and all of the maintenance that needs to happen, all the turnovers, the cleanings, and things like that. I pay her 15% of the rental income, plus then per cleaning charge.
So 2-bedroom, very close to the beach. Remote though, you're not in a big resort town. So what's your average rent that you get? I know there's high season and low season.
So we started off easily getting $150 a night the first year we owned it, and then a lot of other properties came online nearby, and we've had to reduce our rates considerably. We will get 99 to 119 a night now, depending on season and weekends and holidays and things like that.
But you're pretty full up booked.
We've done an okay job. This year has been a bit of a struggle with some big issues that have come up, which we'll talk about in a second. But I would say we're 50% booked overall throughout the year. But in the high season, we're booked probably 80%.
And
Just
what
the 20% is turnover days when we schedule a day or two between stays so that we can properly clean.
So it's probably true across the country with, high season, you're going to see your bookings go up and less
Yeah.
downtime. What percentage of time do you think have you equated that you have to break even to cover your expenses?
To break even, that's a good question, and I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. But this year, if we didn't have to spend any significant money on some repairs and maintenance issues, we're going to make a good amount of money. So I would say 30 to 40%
Okay.
booked to cover all of the expenses that are going to happen regardless of whether I have a tenant or a guest or not.
All right. So I have a lot of questions, a lot of places to take this, but the big question for me now is like, let's go through the expenses of owning an Airbnb. That might be things that people don't think about.
Yes. So you have your typical expenses, your monthly expenses of owning a condo, right? So we're in what's called a vertical condo. I have neighbors on the ground floor, and then I own second and third floor, and then that's a single unit. Then there are other of those buildings. There's 12 on or 6 on my block. So typical HOA. Which I spend about $220 a month. And that includes all the grounds work throughout the property, the pool maintenance, insurance, and things like that. Electricity, obviously, which can be next to nothing when in the cooler months when I don't have guests, and it can be stupid expensive, $400 or $500 a month. When I have guests who are running the air conditioning nonstop. Internet. So yeah, internet's about $60 some a month. And then, property taxes, which are very reasonable for Costa Rica. I say, when people ask how much are property taxes, I say $250 and they say a month, and I say, no, a year. So really reasonable. That covers pretty much anything, monthly expenses that I can count on. Occasionally there'll be another expense that will come up with the HOA needing a special assessment, but those are usually a few $100s here and there.
So let's talk a little bit about where you are in Bajuco, because it is, like you said, it's in an area that is very like, every tourist that's going on the Central Pacific coast is going by Bajuco to go from Jaco to Manuel Antonio or Uvita or what have you. So it's a well-known area. You're a little off the beaten path. Do you think that if you were in Estoril or closer to Jaco, or do you think you would be able to, with the exact same setup now, do you think you'd be able to charge more?
Absolutely. In closer to Jaco or Hermosa or somewhere else, yes, I think I would. Bejuco is becoming kind of an up and coming place. I hesitate to even say that because I don't want my sleepy little my sleepy little beach oasis to be discovered, says the gringo in a foreign country. But yeah, I think I probably could charge more elsewhere. But it's for me personally, it's idyllic, and I love going there and I love spending time there. So I don't care as much about maximizing ROI as I do about maximizing Pura Vida.
I love that. I love that. All right. So in the spirit of Pura Vida, where some things go right and some things go wrong, What are the types of things that, people that are watching this might not have bought rental property yet, and they just think, okay, good, I'll go in, I'll have a property manager, all will be good. But
Yeah.
what are the type of things that you, as I remember a couple of weeks ago, we were on a call and you were like, damn it. And you had gotten a WhatsApp from your property manager because something big had happened. What are the type of things that people need to think about as it relates to things you better have some rainy day money to take care of right away?
Yeah. Yeah, those are much greater than I anticipated originally. Being so close to the beach, they say that when you buy property close to the ocean, maintenance is much greater than you expect it to be. And I kind of set that aside when we bought, and it actually is true. Just things go wrong. And in Costa Rica, I think the original construction was solid, but there were some things that I think they could have done a better job.
Mm.
So if I were building a house, for example, now I would probably over-engineer it so that I didn't have these problems down the road. But here are some just the big things that have come up right now as we speak. As of a couple hours ago, the town of Bejuco didn't have water for 2 days. And so I had to refund my guest because there was no water to take showers and things like that. This happened quite a bit earlier in the year. So we put in a water tank. We spent about $2,500 to put in a water tank and some pumps, which has helped quite a bit. But as the area has gotten built up more, there's less water to go around. Hopefully this is going to be solved by the government soon, but these things, it's an ongoing issue. So not only did I have to spend $2,500 this year, but I also refunded probably around $2,000 in lost income, rental
Wow.
income. So, close to $5,000 this year alone is lost due to a water problem. Now we've got a water tank for the future. So that's great. I'm glad we made that improvement, but I don't think I'll ever see that money back if I ever sell the place. We've had electrical problems that iguanas or geckos like to climb up into the electrical box because it's warm and hang out, and they fry themselves and they cause a short circuit in the
Mm-hmm.
system. And so I've had
Mm-hmm.
like two of those in the past 18 months that have cost me, a few $100s at a time. I got to the point where I was sick and tired of dealing with it. So I spent $750 to redo that area, to enclose it a little bit better and to put in a whole house, whole house, what's the word I'm looking for? Surge protector, and do some electrical upgrades. So there's been things like that. There's always leaks. It's Costa Rica, the rainy season. There's leaks that have to be fixed, patched. It needs to get repainted.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've repainted the outside once now in 2.5 years. The inside is really close to needing a new paint job. I've put in now, so we bought the place. It was 10 years old, I think, when we bought it. And now in the last 2.5 years, I've replaced all three mini splits, air conditioners. So that's been, more than $2,500, $2,000. Things like linens,
Mm-hmm.
sheets, towels, I've replaced those once. Just simple wear and tear, little things that I've had to have my handyman come in and fix. These things add up,
Yeah, sure.
and they're not inexpensive.
Well, and especially because in the humidity, like pillows last shorter. I mean, things just last shorter. So you're not trying to scare people off and say don't have rental income.
Not at all. I'm not trying to scare people off. I'm just trying to give a really good, realistic picture of what it takes to own a short-term rental property in Costa Rica. It's not easy money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not set it and forget it. At least where I am, you could probably spend $1 million in Los Sueños, and and have a management company manage it completely, and it may be a lot easier. But for me in our situation, it hasn't been easy, and there
Yeah,
have been some stressful days.
but like $1 million home in Los Sueños, just using that as an example. I mean, the amount of money you have to make to recoup your
Sure,
investment, it's not like your property is not $1 million property. It's a beautiful property. Don't get me wrong, but that
far
allows
from
you
that.
to have a much smaller amount of time that's necessary to recoup your investment versus some of these other people that go and get, go crazy and they buy. Like we have a friend who bought three in one building in one neighborhood,
Uh
so
huh.
that they can kind of have a monopoly of high end in this one neighborhood. And I just think about how much he has to market those to make sure that those three of all the other properties in the neighborhood are the three that are
Right.
picked to get the return on the investment.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, it's worked out, and I'm very happy that we bought it. Uh, just wanting to give a realistic picture of the fact that it's a little bit of work,
Yeah.
but I get to go use it. I get to use it when it's not on Airbnb, and I block off a couple weeks here and there to use it, and I'm very happy about that.
So on blocking it off, let's talk about for people like what are the realistic times that if you're going to buy an Airbnb and you want to maximize your income, what are the times of year you would want to make sure that it is on the market? The Airbnb market.
I think, yeah, that depends on where you're at in Costa Rica, of
Sure.
course. At the beach, you're looking at primarily your prime season of maybe Thanksgiving, U.S. Thanksgiving, so end of November, which is still a little bit of the rainy season, but not too bad,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to Semana Santa, which is the week of Easter. That's like really high period, and then even into April and May, June, you're going to get quite a few bookings. Obviously, over Christmas and New Year's, you can charge more.
Mm-hmm.
In Semana Santa, you can charge more because that's a really big week for travel within Latin America. So a lot of people come down, like spring break in the U.S. and Canada. A lot of people come down for that. So that's your prime season. I would say December to April, Mayish.
And you have had, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you've had more Ticos or locals than you have internationals, or at least a good
It
chunk of Ticos.
It goes in cycles. It's really interesting. I'll have like coming up this high season in December, January, February. It's almost entirely Americans and Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
And Ticos tend to use it on a weekend for a few days. Americans and Canadians tend to come down for a week or two at a time. I've got a couple coming down for 6 weeks this January, February. So
Amazing.
it depends. It really depends.
Okay, so let's go with recommendations for those that are looking to do this. Kind of to close this out, because obviously we've talked the pros. You love it. You're happy you have it. We've talked the cons. What are your
Yep.
recommendations that people just need to know?
So first of all, go into it knowing what you want out of it. Uh, if it's solely an investment property, that's a different decision than a property that you are going to use occasionally or often, and Airbnb when you're not using it, and or eventually retire there, for example. There are two different calculations there, two different mindsets that you've got to go into with the decision. When you're buying a property and it's been on Airbnb or short-term rentals before, don't believe what the seller tells you, because I love the seller. He's a friend. He developed the whole property, but I think there was a little bit too eager or too unrealistic, too high of a return on investment
Mm-hmm.
presented when we bought the place. So I'd cut that down 20, 30%. You never know. It's hard to tell, but go into it with a a real estate professional. Go into it with a real estate agent who can pull similar listings, and what they would go for it. Do your research on Airbnb. Like, go and actually look at on Airbnb the same complex or the same area you're buying in, and look at the nightly rate and look at the discounts they're offering and look at how booked their schedule is, and even message them and say, hey, I'm considering buying a similar property. How's it been for you? Generally, I find that people are really happy to talk about it because there's not, it's not a direct competition. So just do your homework.
You heard it here first. Do your homework. And speaking of which, if you liked this topic, we have many, many more on our sites, both in blog form and in video form, and just information on our website. So do your homework, segue there, by logging on to yourprovida.com/links to get all the information we have. Also, make sure that if you want to talk to us, you reach out to us, ola@yourprovida.com. And Aaron, we hope that maybe out of this you get a couple rentals. That would be good.
Shoot me a comment and I'll shoot the link. Yeah, would love that.
I love that. That's actually good commerce for us. All right.
That's right.
So with that, we hope everyone has a great day. And when you're ready to start seriously looking for a rental of your own or a home of your own, or as you know, a relocation of your own, please get in touch with us. That's what we love to do. That's why we created Your Pura Vida in the first place. And until next time, Aaron, what do we have to say?
We always say Pura Vida. Ciao.